Alrighty, everybody. Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to this week's NFL Week 12 recap. I'm Mason Spesky, your host here. So we have 15 games to cover this week. It was a full slate of games this week, 16 games, but we're obviously not covering the Steelers because I did that already on my Steelers Game Day postgame. So if you have not checked that out yet, please do. It's uploaded. It's the Steelers Game Day postgame. So Week 12 at the Cincinnati Bengals. So please check that out if you get the chance. Sorry about that. Just took a drink of water. But anyway, though, let's go right into it here because we got 15 games and I'm trying to get this done rather quickly. So, without further ado, here we go. We're going to start out in the Motor City on Thanksgiving Day. This year's Thanksgiving slate was okay. Last year's I thought was much better. Had a much better slate of games option wise. Boy, that water really does something to you. I mean, I love drinking water, but it really does something to you early in the mornings. But anyway, though, last year's Thanksgiving slate of games was amazing. We had the last second kick. Buffalo beat Detroit. Then we had Dallas beat the Giants. That was pretty convincingly, so that wasn't so amazing. But the Giants were good, and so were the Cowboys. And also, the other game, the night game, was amazing too. Minnesota barely beat New England. This year's Thanksgiving slate was nowhere near as good. Starting out with this one, or not so much this one, this was probably the best game of the day for Thanksgiving for sure. And it was the Packers beating the Lions 29-22. Obviously, as you guys all know, I'm a Lions fan, so I was pretty upset with this one. But the last game of the week, the one last night, was a really good night for Lions fans. We'll get into that at the very end. But anyway, though, a couple quick takeaways from this Packers-Lions game. First takeaway is this Packers offense is maturing relatively quickly. You saw it obviously last week with the Chargers game and this week with the beating of Detroit. And Pittsburgh, they beat them, but it wasn't like significant. So Packers have played very well this month of November, and I do truly believe the future is bright there in Green Bay. So good win for the Packers, that's for sure. As for the Detroit Lions, they blew this opportunity for sure. They could have easily been. They lost their second seed in the NFC. They fall back now to behind San Francisco, and we'll get to that in just a couple of short minutes, actually. San Francisco. So yeah, that's a pain in the butt for Detroit. For sure, especially the comeback effort they put forth against Chicago. So yeah, it was rather crazy. Anyway, though, this game was probably the best game of the day, that's for sure. Sorry if I'm short or I don't sound very good on this. I bit my tongue, I'm guessing, this morning. And when I speak, it doesn't feel that good, so sorry if I'm, like, short or not trying my best and all that. It's just, I don't know. I must have bit my tongue, so yeah. Next game now. Cowboys beat down the Commanders 45-10 in Dallas for the second game of the Thanksgiving triple header. Obviously, Dallas is very good. Their defense is very good. This team all around is impressive, and they're just killing it. They're going to be a threat in the NFC, that's for sure. I actually think they're one of the better teams. I think they're a little bit better than Detroit, to be honest with you. We'll find out December the 30th when they play, but I think they're a tad bit better than Detroit. I really do. It sucks to say that. It hurts. It really does hurt to say that, but I think they're a tad bit better than Detroit. So, yeah. San Francisco, I don't think you can say, though, Dallas is better than San Francisco considering Week 5. Philly, you can say they're even. I mean, Dallas might be better than Philly this year. Despite the record, and we'll get to this when we talk about Philly, despite the record, Dallas might be better than Philly. Dallas only lost by 5 points in Philly. Dallas is likely going to beat Philly December the 10th when they play. And on a neutral site, I think Dallas wins 9 times out of 10. So you can make the case that Dallas, the only NFC team they're not better than right now is San Francisco, who's probably the best NFC team. That's going to be a class next week in Philly. That's going to be interesting to see Niners, Eagles, for sure. But anyway, though, it is a week-to-week league, like we all know. Commanders, yeah, they're just garbage. things are not looking good in the nation's capital. They still need to do some cleaning out, and they need to rebuild. I know the rebuild's just getting started. They have a new owner, Josh Harris, also owns the Sixers and the New Jersey Devils. So hopefully he can turn things around there relatively fast for the Commanders. If not, it's going to be a rough going for a long time. Although Sam Howell doesn't look bad for sure. It's just he got dominated by what is a very good Dallas defense. So, oh darn. That's all I have to say about that. The one other game on Thanksgiving Day was the 49ers and the Seahawks. This was definitely another beatdown for sure. 49ers got the job done, pulling out the W over Seattle. San Francisco's the real deal. They're legit. They just stumbled early. They stumbled those 3 games against those 3 Midwest teams, the 2 Ohio teams in Minnesota. They stumbled. That was a complete and total fluke. We all know that was a complete and total fluke. Sorry, I was just taking an email from Pitt Athletics. It was about an ACC win, so that just popped up and I saw that. So I just wanted to look at that. But anyway, though, shout out to the Pitt women's volleyball team while we're on this video here. They're going to be the 1 seed in their region, so shout out to them. I was just thinking of that now because I got that email, obviously. So shout out to the Pitt women's volleyball team, and hopefully best of luck to them. Sorry I said this in an NFL video. It came up to my mind now, so I just want to give them a quick shout out. So best of luck to the Pitt Panthers women's volleyball team. Good luck, ladies. Anyway, though, those 3 games against those Midwestern teams, that was such a fluke. Definitely interesting. So I think 49ers are better than their record. I think the 49ers are right up there with the Eagles. They're probably the 2 best teams in the NFC, and the records indicate that. So San Francisco looks strong. Purdy, McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle even. This team looks strong. They're going to be a force to reckon with. As for Seattle, it's going to be a rough going. The schedule does not get any easier. I get this was a tough game. It definitely was. It definitely was. However, the schedule does not look much better for Seattle coming up, so I don't think Seattle... It's not looking pretty for them, but it's not looking good. Or it's not looking pretty, but it's not looking terrible. Because after the Eagles game, it does get a little bit relieving. Titans, Steelers, which will be a tough game for sure. And then at Arizona. So it's not bad after that point. So if they can beat Philly or Dallas, that would be huge. They're going to be tough games, but I don't know, because Green Bay and the Rams are lurking in the background. So yeah, that's your Thanksgiving slate for you all. Now on to Sunday games. We're going to start off with the Patriots and the Giants. So the Giants won this game by a final score of 10-7. Couple quick takeaways on this, and the biggest takeaway is, number one, there was offensive talent. Stevenson didn't have a bad day. Demario Douglas didn't have a bad day. He actually looked good. There's offensive talent on both these teams. Barkley, the Giants receivers, Jalen Hyatt went off this game, which was good to see for sure, being a fan of his. So good job to Jalen Hyatt, and good job to Douglas. Not so much Tommy DeVito, because Tommy DeVito's done good with the Giants. He's won them 2 games. They're 4-8, and they're not quite out of the playoff picture quite yet, although they are going to probably pick top 5. That's a weird situation. The Giants are not out of the playoff picture yet because they're only like 2 games back, maybe 3. But they also have a good chance of picking top 5. This NFC is so weird. For sure. So, yeah. Anyway, on to the Patriots now. Their defense is impressive. That showed yesterday. They have a quarterback problem. You might be like, Mason, yeah, you're stating the obvious. It kind of is stating the obvious. However, it is a problem at this point that can't be ignored. It cost them this game. It's cost them several other games. And it screwed them over. They need a new quarterback. So hopefully they get I think you need a top 5 for sure. Possibly even a top 2 or 3 draft pick to get your guy. And they're behind Chicago and Arizona in that pecking order right now. But they're screwed the way it looks. They are so screwed. They need a quarterback and then some. Receivers, they don't need a running back because Stevenson looks like the real deal. Tight end, I'd say you're fine with who you have. They need it, and they also need O-line, and they might need some D-line too. So they screwed up. And who knows about Belichick? Maybe it is time for them to move on from him. I don't know. As for the Giants, like I said, they're still in the hunt for a playoff spot. Possibly if they perform a miracle here late in the season and get hot. And turn this 2-game winning streak into a 6-game winning streak or 7 even. But it's more likely they go to top 10 pick. So it'll definitely be some interesting times in the Meadowlands, that's for sure. Down the line here, we're actually, I'm sorry I forgot about this one. Black Friday football. It was so weird to have an NFL game on Black Friday. I was out shopping, so I saw very little of this game. Dolphins clobbered the Jets 34-13. This was a horrible choice to pick for this game, considering some of the other games that took place on this Week 12 schedule. So, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just tired today. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, though, Dolphins look good as always. You can't stop Tyreek Hill. You cannot stop him. Even the best cornerback in the core found that out the hard way. He is doing things that have never been done. Never. So, yeah. This kid's the real deal. I'll just say that. Good job, Tyreek. As for the Jets, this team's a disaster. They need a quarterback and then some. Obviously, they went out and traded for Rodgers. He's hurt, so I doubt he comes back. He probably shouldn't come back this year because your team's 4-7 and you're stuck. So I don't know what the deal is with Aaron Rodgers. I really don't. But something has to give with him. I mean, or they have to sit him the rest of the year. There's no choice. This team is horrible. This team needs hope, and this team needs life. I wouldn't fire the coaching staff. The guy got hurt. It's a shame. That's not the coaching staff's fault. Yes, they could have been aggressive and got another quarterback, but you can blame that on the front office. But this coaching staff, I think, deserves one more year. It's a 5-year contract. This is year 3. You probably need to give it to year 4. If Rodgers were playing and this was your record, then yeah, maybe it is time to fire people. But the fact that Robert Saleh got this team back to a point where it's at least competitive, and they've hit on a lot of their picks. Look, I know Jermaine Johnson hasn't worked out. Exactly. But look who they did get that worked out. Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. You cannot blame the GM. You cannot blame the head coach. This was an injury, so I wouldn't fire anybody if I were the Jets. But this year's over in New York. Now on to some more Sunday games. Let's look at this one here. No, not the Steelers, not the Ravens. We got the Patriots, we did the Jets, we did the Dolphins, Bills later. Let's go down to Houston now, where the Jacksonville Jaguars defeated the Houston Texans. I think it was 24-21, I want to say. This game was definitely interesting. This game was definitely a thriller. C.J. Stroud, this reminded me of last year's Pete's Bowl. C.J. Stroud balls out, has the game of his life, but it's not enough. Look, I know that Tampa Bay game for him was good, but he put forth another phenomenal effort. He has just been phenomenal this year. He has embarrassed me. I mean, I thought he wasn't going to be that good in the NFL. I really did. But he has just embarrassed me. He has made me look bad, and he's just done phenomenal. He's probably right now a top 10 quarterback. I mean, people are saying MVP, MVP, MVP. I'm not ready to go there yet. But he has balled out. he has put himself in the top 10 conversation. CJ Stroud, you are the man. That was an amazing draft pick by Houston. But you have to give some credit to the coaching staff. Everybody's mad at Carolina. And we'll talk about this at the very end. I want to save this game for last because I have some words to say about this one. Everybody's ticked at Carolina for picking Young over Stroud. I read something yesterday, and this is what I believe too. If you put Young in that Texan system, he'll put up the same numbers Stroud's putting up. If you put Stroud in that Panther system, he'll put up the same numbers Young's putting up. It's all about the coaching. DeMeco Ryans comes from that Shanahan system. He brought an offensive coordinator with him from guess where? San Francisco. Of course it's going to work out. The Shanahan offense is the new go-to route. It's almost like when a new purse comes. And I know women love purses, so this is why I'm going to use that as an example. Or better yet, Taylor Swift tickets. Or Taylor Swift albums. When the new Taylor Swift album comes out, everybody is going to flock to the store to get it. Why? Because people love Taylor Swift. Why do people love Taylor Swift? Because Taylor Swift is a hit. She's popular. That's like the San Francisco offense. And I know I'm going to get heat because she's a Chiefs fan, obviously. She's dating Travis Kelce. And I know I'm going to get heat for this, for comparing her to something with San Francisco. But, oh well. I'm sorry. But anyway, the San Francisco offense. When a new star San Francisco young coach from that offense comes out, everybody's going to want to get him. Why? Because it's popular. Why? Because they're a hit. They're doing good. The San Francisco Shanahan offensive coaching staff is in demand, and it's in demand for a reason. Just look at Bobby Slovic, what he's doing in Houston. So, I think Slovic's making Stroud. Don't get me wrong, he's very good, and he is a major factor to their success. However, he needed good coaching, and he's getting tremendous coaching. So, yeah. As for Jacksonville, the team that actually won this game, who we should be talking about more, but we're not because of the way the game transpired, came down to last-second field goal where the kicker missed barely. Game Vince's. But Jacksonville is good. However, they're not great, and they're nowhere near the level of a serious Super Bowl contender. Houston has a much better long-term trajectory than Jacksonville. Look at them. Last year they were like 4-11-1 or 4-12-1. Look at them this year. They turned that franchise around in 1 year, and it's only going to get better from here. That's all I have to say about that. Jacksonville, you better watch out, and you better hope you win this division this year, because if not, it's going to be a long road ahead for you guys. But it was a good win for Jacksonville. Moving down the chain now, Tampa Bay, they lost to Indianapolis. I think it was 27-20. Just a couple quick tidbits from this game. Indianapolis, obviously, they're 6-5. They're looking really good right now. Possible playoff team. This is another thing. Coaching is key. Coaching has done everything there. Shane Steichen, he's the man. He's the real deal. Great start for Steichen and Indy. He has them hoping playoffs, so good job for Steichen. Good job for the Colts. That's for sure. And he's doing it without his franchise quarterback, Anthony Richardson. Even better. This is what matters. This is what I'm getting at. It's all coaching. I mean, Gardner Minshew, I know he has experience with the guy from working with him last year in Philly. But his play calling and designs, his offense is just smart. So yeah, Coaching is a big deal. And coaching is why the Colts are sitting at 6-5 right now, and not 5-6 or even 4-7 or 3-8. Yeah, and we saw that last year with Jeff Saturday. Point being is coaching's good. And coaching made the Colts good. As for the Buccaneers, they're just blah. They started out strong, and now they're struggling. So, good luck to them the rest of the way. It's probably best at this point to tank for a quarterback, unfortunately. So, we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. Let me think if there's any other 1 o'clock games. Kansas City and Vegas was 4. Chargers and Denver are 4. And don't get me wrong, we're going to come back to Carolina. That's last. Philly and Dallas, no. Giants and Washington. We did the Giants. We didn't do Washington. Philly, we will do later. Dallas, Green Bay, Chicago, no. Oh, New Orleans and Atlanta. This was another one. I think this is our last one before Carolina. New Orleans and Atlanta. Falcons won this game 24-15. I have a couple quick things to say about this one because, again, I didn't follow these games too much. I only really follow the Steelers Sunday afternoon, but I wanted to say a couple things about this one. Number one, the Falcons offense, thank goodness for Arthur Smith, is finally using his playmakers the right way. This game plan was perfectly executed. Bijan, Bijan Robinson was involved so much this game. Drake London was too. Ritter, the quarterback, looked really good. This was a perfectly executed game plan. Perfect game planning for sure for the Atlanta Falcons. Good job by them. So this is a big win. This actually puts them in first place in the division at 5 wins and 6 losses. Every team in the division has a losing record. This division is pathetic. As for the Saints, what's the deal with them? This team's overpaid. This team's overrated. And this team is struggling. Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Olave. This team has talent. It's not being properly used. And that comes back to the OC and the head coach. Expect big changes, possibly, in the Bayou this offseason. Because this Saints offense is blah. I think people have had enough with them. I have too. Sean Payne and Drew Brees made this a competitive franchise. Dennis Allen and Derek Carr have ruined this franchise. They're going to need to rebuild. They're in salary cap terrible land. They got to rebuild. There's no solution other than that one word. So, yeah. As for the Falcons, they're looking good. They did it the right way. They got offensive playmakers, Robinson, London, all of them. So, yeah. The only other thing they could really do possibly this offseason is get better with utilizing the running backs from a coaching standpoint, and also strongly consider the possibility of strengthening the O-line and strengthening the defense. I know they had a great game Sunday, that Falcons defense. How about Jesse Bates? Shout out to Jesse Bates. What a play. 92-yard return, so that was amazing. Possibly had some secondary pieces around him, strengthened the D-line some. And this team's going to be cooking. This team probably is the best long-term trajectory in the NFC South. So that's that for that division. Next up, we go to the game you've probably all been waiting for. Carolina and Tennessee. Let me take a drink before this one, because this was interesting. Okay, Tennessee won this game 17-10. Tennessee looked good. Derrick Henry looked very good. This Titans team is back. It's cooking. And it's not perfect, but it got a win. And it's going to try to stay competitive the rest of the year. Good game again by Will Levis. Even better by King Henry. So keep up the good work, guys. You look good, Titans. Now on to the bigger thing from this game. The Carolina Panthers. They're 1-10. And the owner's ticked. On Sunday afternoon, it was reported that Carolina Panthers owner, David Tepper, walked out of the Panthers locker room with his hands in his face like this and just said a 4-letter word that begins with the letter F that it's inappropriate for me to say on here. I'll just say it like that. You all know what word I'm talking about, so there's no need for me to say it. I went to bed on Friday and last night thinking there's no way Frank Reich makes it past tomorrow as Panthers head coach, meaning yesterday, Monday. Right before my history class, I have a 10-minute break before my first class of the day and my second class of the day, which is my history class. During that break, I get an ESPN notification that the Panthers have fired Frank Reich as their head coach following a 1-10 start. Bryce Young has struggled. This all-star coaching staff has struggled. This offense has struggled. I'm going to say this right here. It hurts for me to say this. Because David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, graduated from this school, grew up in Pittsburgh, was always a part of the Steelers. In fact, he owned a portion of the Steelers. When he went to Pitt, he graduated with a degree in economics, which is the same degree that I'm hoping to graduate with. He's been a role model and an inspiration kind of to me. So that's why this really hurts. I get where Carolina, and also he did graduate the Carnegie Mellon, which there's 3 colleges in the Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh. There's a university called Carlow on this to the very left end, or to the western side, closest to like the stadiums and stuff. Then there's Pitt, the University of Pittsburgh. And then there's a university called Carnegie Mellon, which is one of the best universities in the country. It's very good for engineering, but it also is a good business school, which is where David Tepper got his master's. And also he's a big donor of Carnegie Mellon, and the school is called the Tepper School of Business. I mean, it's a very good school. And so is the University of Pittsburgh. I wouldn't have chosen a bad school to go to, trust me. But the point being is, he might be the one that is screwing up this organization. You're never going to get any stability with Tepper. I hate to say this. I hate to criticize somebody who I like and look up to. It's hard and it's sad for me. I mean, I truly do feel bad saying this. But he might be the problem. I mean, look, he's fired 2 soccer coaches already. One of them just made the playoffs and got fired. Last October, fired Matt Rule. Then he gave Frank Reich this major contract and this all-star coaching staff major contracts. They've looked like garbage. And he fired them. Every year it's going to be a new head coach in Carolina. Because of this. And I mean, it hurts. And people are comparing him to the Haslams who own the Browns. Both of them own minority stakes in the Steelers. They firing coaches time and time again. That is the complete and total opposite of what the Rooneys have done. So don't go saying they're getting this from the Rooneys. Because I will tell you right here, right now, they are not getting motivation to fire coaches from the Rooney family. Last week, the Steelers fired Matt Canada as our offensive coordinator. That was the first in-season coaching change since 1940-something when the team owner fired himself. And that's funny because I always laugh when I read that, the team owner firing himself. So he is not getting this from the Rooneys. So maybe Tepper is the problem. But his GM has done him no help either. Scott Fitter. I think that's how I pronounce it. He traded all those picks away in a top-tier receiver for Bryce Young. And he's complaining now that he doesn't have a top-tier receiver. So essentially they traded everything to get this guy. And he's done nothing. Yes, Frank Reich does take responsibility. But he's not the only problem. This team needs work. They lack draft capital. This is almost like the 2020 Houston Texans. At some point, the Carolina Panthers are going to turn it around. However, they need to accept it's time to rebuild, and it's time to do what Houston did. Or else it's going to be a long road ahead for them. David Tepper cannot keep firing coaches every year. And he's actually getting ready to speak in 15 minutes. That'll be an interesting presser, that's for sure. I'll have to tune into that later. But anyway, point being is, the Carolina Panthers, their issues are much worse than Frank Reich. That's all I have to say. And that concludes our wrap-up of the 1 o'clock games. Couple 4 o'clock games we gotta get into now, though. Browns and Broncos. I watched some of this one. It was actually a rather good game. Broncos won, thank goodness. Steelers passing the Browns now. But anyway, the Broncos won. It was like 24-12 or 27-12. Broncos defense looks legit. Vance Joseph has turned this unit around, that's for sure. But even bigger applause goes to Sean Payton. Good job to Sean Payton, that's for sure. He has turned the ship around. 1-5. Good job by him by telling them don't give up yet. Keep fighting. They have fought. Look at where they are now, 6-5. I still don't think it might be enough for this year. I don't know if it is. But nonetheless, he has his team in the right trajectory for sure for 2024. The chemistry is there. The draft capital is there. He has turned the ship around in Denver. Credit to him. This team looks amazing. Russell Wilson looks amazing. So, yeah. That's all I got to say about that. Not Houston. That's their opponent this week. Why am I so lost? Cleveland. They need work. This offense is nowhere near where it needs to be. And don't get me wrong, it's obvious the quarterback is a big issue. You're on PJ Walker, your third stringer. But, I don't know. I truly don't know what the deal is in Cleveland. It might be a last season for them. They're probably still going to make the playoffs, just like Pittsburgh is because of their defense, but this team doesn't have it this year. I don't think so. So, yeah. That's it. For Pitt. Anyway, though, let's go now on to Rams and the Cardinals. This was another interesting one. Cardinals, I think, fought back to make this somewhat close, but it wasn't enough. Rams won this game. I forget what the final score is. I didn't pay much attention to it. But the Rams won this game. Big win for the LA Rams, that's for sure. They're still in the playoff hunt. They're 5-6. Only like a half a game back, so they might need some help, but they're still alive, so give them credit. This team's definitely in the right direction, that's for sure. A lot of credit goes to Sean McVay. Keeping this team competitive, keeping this team alive and in it, so credit to Sean McVay. Arizona's just bad. They showed grit, they showed fight earlier in the year. Now they're just bad. And it's showing. They can do what Detroit did. get 1 or 2 more wins this year, have a somewhat good year next year, and then be a competitor in 2025. Kind of like the 2021-2023 Detroit Lions. However, this team doesn't play with nearly the amount of grit that Detroit does. And don't get me wrong, Arizona plays with a lot of grit, but Detroit plays with over-the-top grit. Arizona's doing the right thing. It's going to be a little while in the desert, but they'll rebound eventually. And Kyler Murray's brought them back to relevance. Hopefully he continues to do good there. On to the next one, Chiefs and the Raiders. Chiefs winning this one 31-17. Chiefs struggled early. They fell down behind 14-0 to Vegas. They eventually came back, took a lead, and then just ran it up from that point. That's how the game ended, 31-17. Chiefs looked rough early. You're not going to be able to come back like that against playoff teams. I'll say that right now. They need help. The receiving core not being where it should be is finally starting to show in Kansas City. This team needs a lot of work. Defense kept them in it. Good job to the defense for allowing the offense to come back. This is not Mahomes' fault. This is not Kelsey's fault. This is the other guys. Rashee Rice looks like he could be a potential draft still. Looks really good. But other than that, who do you have? The team's struggling this year, largely in part of their drop balls. But they will be back. They'll get high in the playoffs and they'll make a playoff run. Because that's what Andy Reid does. Mahomes needs to bounce back. And he needs to bounce back fast. I think he's a talented quarterback. But his receivers are bringing him down. He needs to develop more of like a chemistry of them. And that's the problem in Kansas City. That's all I'm going to say about that. Good job early with Vegas with the fight. They looked good early. They fought hard. In the end, it just wasn't enough. So they played them better than they did last year. That's all I have to say. And those first 2 touchdowns by them, that for early start of the game showed what Vegas could be. And if that's what Vegas could be, what they may be someday looks really good. So obviously you're probably not making playoffs this year, Las Vegas. So I don't know. It's going to be a rough finish to the year for this team, but still a lot to look forward to in Vegas. So yeah. This was probably the game of the week, if not the game of the year. Bills and Eagles. Eagles won this one 37-34 in overtime over the the Buffalo Bills. Lots of takeaways from this one, that's for sure. First, we'll start out with Philly. Number 1, this team just keeps getting lucky. They keep grinding away wins. Obviously, there's talent there. But this team's probably nowhere near as good as its record shows. 10-1, barely winning these games. But they're doing it good. They're finding ways to win, and that's what matters in the NFL. Their talent is getting them there. And so is Jalen Hurts. How about this guy for MVP? That's the name I'm going to throw out there right here, right now for MVP. Jalen Hurts. If the season ended today, he would be my MVP vote. Look at how he's done. Look at how he's played. I mean, look at what he's doing. He's truly good. You gotta like him. Phenomenal athlete, has done nothing but good for them. So yeah, good job by Jalen Hurts. He's the one carrying this team. Just remember that, Philly. Without him, you guys probably won't be anything. So yeah, Philly looks good, but they need work. As for Buffalo, you cannot sweat this loss. The fact you hung in there with them, played your heart out against them, and almost won, shows you can almost compete with anybody. The season's not a lost cause in Orchard Park yet. Time may be ticking. However, the clock has not struck midnight. So Buffalo still has a chance. They need to start winning and start winning now. And that starts December the 10th in Kansas City against a tough Chiefs team that always gives them problems. And the Taylor Swift, for sure. Taylor Swift will be at that game. Sorry, I just got a text. At that game, in all likelihood, so it's going to be tough for Buffalo. And then after that, they got Dallas. Then they go to LA Chargers, which is winnable. Then they come home for New England, and then they go down south to Miami. Those last couple games are winnable, but those first two are going to be brutal. Definitely interesting times. That is for sure. Baltimore beat the Chargers 20-10. Good win by Baltimore. They obviously didn't look their best, but they still found a way to get the job done. So credit to them. So good job by the Ravens. As for the Chargers, this team just stinks. It's probably best to give up on this, or not give up, but just not care so much about this year and try to get that top 10 pick. So they could definitely get a good talent to surround Justin Herbert, or possibly more likely a defensive playmaker. And this will all likely be under a new head coach. So that'll be interesting, that's for sure. Definitely interesting to see what will happen in LA this offseason. So I didn't watch much of this game. That's all I have to say about that. So yeah. Last game of the week. This was probably the best game of the week for me. The game that made me the most happiest outside of the Steeler game. Chicago beat Minnesota 12-10. This was huge if you're a Lions fan like myself. Because now the Lions have the chance on Sunday to go 3 games up on Minnesota and get ready to put this division in the rear view mirror. Good win by the Bears. Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus finally found a way to finish it out. So yeah, good win for the Bears. As for the Vikings, Josh Dobbs isn't it. Kevin O'Connell saved him the first 2 weeks, largely in part because defenses didn't really see him and didn't know what they were going to run with him. Now they do. Now they've figured him out. He threw 4 interceptions against Chicago, who is one of the worst passing defenses in this game. I would move them up. 3 picks off of Jared Goff, 4 picks off of Josh Dobbs, 7 picks in 2 games. Dobbs is not the guy. We all know this. And Minnesota probably needs to give Jared Hall a chance. You have to be constantly changing in this game, unfortunately. Because teams figure you out, and they figure you out very easily. It's hard to figure out a team when you haven't even seen their quarterback on tape. That's what worked with Josh Dobbs. Now teams are seeing him, and now they know what he is. So yeah, that's the deal. Minnesota 6-6. They're in the playoff hunt still, but they still have a couple teams coming. At the Raiders, at the Bengals, Detroit, Green Bay, and last but not least, at Detroit. It's not going to be an easy road for the Vikings, but it's still doable. 9-8 is doable. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry this one was so long. Hopefully this coming weeks will be shorter. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Pray for Israel. And as always, peace. See you soon.